here we are playing Stellar Horizons 2, the campaign game. What have we done so far? Not very much. Took a lot of time doing it though. But we played through one turn. Ships are moved out. People have started buying some tech, either on the chart or a card. They're limiting their tech to basically one purchase per turn because they have to flush their cards if they end up buying, not having money and resources to buy tech. The people who have gotten these, so the cards have a victory point value, but the techs do too, in the sense that you get influence chits, which can be spent as additional tech markers, etc. So a lot going there. Everybody built ships except for the True Path here, who had an advantage with robotic focus that they wanted to take advantage of, and they're going to send their ships out a turn later at a cheaper price because of that. That's kind of cool. Anyway, I got to go play some Raid, but we'll be back up and keep going. So here it is, still in the wee hours of Tuesday morning. 4 a.m. now. And back to Stellar Horizons. Raid is going to play by itself. First thing we do is the economic phase. We have another, I'm going to roll a die again, although I don't have an 8-sider or a 4-sider. Let me get the second shit. Because I haven't stacked them randomly, so I don't know. Okay, we hit Earth production. Now, we did Earth production before. It's basically generating these suckers. And I'll just do that. But that means that everybody's got a lot more money to keep their tech situation alive. But they also have opportunities to build ships and whatnot. I forgot to do this. And I forgot there's a 1% chance that the truce is over. 52, that's not going to do it. A little weird because the trade goods is a different chip, the one we had the first turn. But it's on the same chart. Be careful, don't grab trade goods every time Earth production happens. Obviously, if you knew the order of these, you would be able to, take some advantage. Now, the last one, you know what it's going to be, right? You can look up. But it is sort of a, you got to plan for, gosh, I don't know what's going to come up with, whether I'm going to have the money and the tech to keep my cards and all that. So everybody played very conservatively. That may turn out to not be the wisest of, well, you might have lucked out by taking a riskier strategy, right? No, just hoping the money comes out and play for that or whatever and be able to expand more. Buy techs that might help you more, knowing that you're going to have CVs and whatnot. It's just, yeah, After the randomized Earth economic production, ooh. Ooh, and add new world tiles. I think, damn it. The way this is worded, see, I look here, if you flip a world, if you replace a world with the new one after terraforming, add the world pool, one of each type of world set aside at the start of the game. But here, the terraforming, is that one of the chits? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 5 types. Well, since I'm randomizing, terraforming is not one of these chits. Huh. Roll initiative, draw events, base production, Earth production, draw trade goods, settlement growth and migration, and terraforming are not in my chit set. I'm gonna look and see. There may have to be 2 more chits that should be in there. If so, I think the way this is worded for terraforming, it sounds again, here, after terraforming, add 1 world of each type set aside. Oh, God. I don't know. I pawed through all the counters. There are not another couple of those. Unless I put them in with ships or something really weird. The only thing that's really close in size is the directives. The titles are a different shape. The events are a different size. I'm hoping I didn't, like, throw away something important. But, like, it feels like the game is designed so you do each one of these 7 in order. You know, in some random order. But I'm not seeing them. They got 3 of them here. They do not have a complete component list on here. This is weird. They're not listed here. Like, it feels like there should be 2 more, right? And looking to see if I have images of more. I mean, I only have 5 of them. Oh boy. And got these that say terraform or Jesus, I don't know. I've looked everywhere I can for the terraforming and I guess the settlement growth, neither of which I seem to have. I mean, the way it's written here, they appear to be tiles. I don't know if I managed to lose them. I looked at the excess counters that are in Stellar Horizons now that are just for that. These aren't the same size. Yeah, I don't know where they could be. I looked through all the directives. They're the things that are the right size. Aha! Never mind. Okay. Yeah, and I've already lost one. There it is. Okay. Well, it's pretty random which 2 weren't there. So I'll just go down and delete the question I had. Yeah, I was really afraid that I, like, either threw them out with the sprue or they weren't in the game at all. Okay. You know, I don't see, given the size of the counters, etc., I don't see one simply popping off and disappearing. All right, so we've got the answer. Those would be in here. We're going to have to definitely roll in the future. I'll go delete my question about that. So since I had to do it anyway, I randomized the pile completely, stacked it. Now I can just flip them over. I don't have to roll a die if I do, such is life. All right. Now we're at the reduced transfer marker section of the game, and we've done this in the learning scenarios that I played. And it's kind of funny, you know, I mentioned this before in the scenario debate, but most of the scenarios for the game don't really ramp you up to the campaign game. They don't add new concepts or anything like that that you're going to use in the campaign game. Instead, there's a couple that are definitely learning scenarios, I think, but or they could serve as steps upward. But then some of the others are just kind of other things you can do with many of the rules of the game and these components and whatnot. So, you know, it's okay, because the campaign game, you know, if you wanted to do a learning campaign game, I guess you could just play one solo and get a feel for what's going on. All right, but I'll show this since it's even though I did it before, not everybody will be playing this. This is really the same kind of system as was used in Stellar Horizons 1, where ships just move on a track. Instead of a track, they got these markers. So we reduce the length of time that the ships are in transit to wherever they're going. You can't intercept them on the way or anything. And then this is going to happen for each of these different locations that has ships. And once they lose their marker, they'll be there and they can do stuff. Anyway, it's not too complicated. It's just, it adds to the clutter in each space. Whereas in the original Stellar Horizons, by having them separate on a track, I feel like they kind of made things less confusing in a sense. On the other hand, I don't know. I don't know if this actually gives me any information that the original didn't have. But one of the things, like, it doesn't give extra information, but I don't know if it makes it a little bit more accessible. I don't think so. I think having them on a track is very, very helpful, because you can see which ships are arriving the same turn you are and what you're going to have to do about that. I think in the original you were able to divert a ship as it was on its path, and you cannot do that here. So a simplification of the rules there. Next thing is build and repair new ships. We're still on the same initiative thing. And so, you know, the Praetorians are going to make a decision. Now, they have a lot more stuff to think about. You know, just like last turn, they got a lot to think about. They've got a lot more tech. They got some more cash. It's going to be complicated again. I'm not going to go through all that thinking. I wish there were, I'm thinking about this as I'll get to something. I wish there was a differentiation of the two sides of these little markers. The reason being, I'd like an unestablished marker. Yeah, I know, I can put it to the side or whatever, but these charts are kind of close together. Obviously, I can put it over further to the right or whatever, but it's going to be kind of painful. Okay, so not everyone built ships. 3 of the players, the Praetorians, the Starfarers, and the Transhumanists, each built a CV. These are expensive. Everybody's got tons of money right now, and a lot of people have a lot of research chits. But the Syndicate doesn't have a lot of research. Their ships are kind of shitty. They chose not to. The True Path, they have a reduced cost on their robotics and a bonus on robotics that they want to buy. They don't have a lot of tech for that. They're thinking they're going to invest cash in it. Their ships are also kind of lousy for exploration. And who else did not? The Givers did not. Again, for a similar reason. Actually, theirs is... yeah, they have a bonus on the REs. They kind of weren't too thrilled with this ship. What is it, the Marbles? Mirabilis. They kind of want to colonize. They're holding off a little bit, working towards that, I guess. So yeah, some of the players are not indulging in building Oh, the consortium also. The consortium had an interesting reason. They have reduced the cost of CVs, so they'd rather not spend extra on one. It's a one-turn difference, right? If I do it this turn as opposed to next turn, in terms of where I arrive, etc. And that's going to put me onto combat. Well, we're still at peace everywhere. Cargo transfer and trade, there's nothing people could, if they had cargo capacity, so like the Daedalus here has cargo capacity, they could deliver it somewhere. There's nowhere to deliver it yet. But if we look at trade goods, if someone finds a planet, now, if a system is completely surveyed or if it has a base, it gets a demand marker. So there's nowhere I'm going to be able to deliver stuff. I probably don't want to haul goods around for no real reason. I can hold like 10 goods at Earth, I think. 12 total in the world. Yeah, max storage 10. So, yeah, even though the transhumanists have the capacity to carry some cargo, and they could haul medicine somewhere, there's nowhere that's going to demand it in the near future. Somebody's got to ship people somewhere for a demand to show up. Fair enough. How do demand markers get placed? Sounds like I need another cup, don't I? Trade pool. I don't see demand markers in a pool. Interesting. Immediately receives a demand marker. Player who competes draws 2 demand markers. Well, apparently there's just not information to create a pool for it, but there should be. And I'm going to need yet another bag or cup, but okay. There aren't a hell of a lot of demand markers, but there's enough that that's an issue. Okay. Where does that get us to then? That gets us to movement, which again will be in reverse order. I don't know where people are going and what their choices are. What counts as combat? So, for example, the Praetorians want to initiate fleet combat against the player with the most settlements. I think that could be anybody at this point. Of course, I'm not allowed to initiate combat, so that's not really an issue. So I'll just be sending this where I want to explore the most, I guess. Alpha Centauri, since I'm a pariah state, I probably want to go there and try to chase people away. So I got to look up my CV movement rate, which is ×5. My ship's got a little thing, so it's actually going to be ×4. Since I'm only going 1 away, I put a 4 marker on that. And you can see it's going to, at least everything rotates in the same direction. At least there's that. So that would be their choice. The Pirates don't go. These guys, got to think about them a little bit. They probably have other decisions. Starfarers went up here based on their directive. They're interested in Epsilon Eridani, and I'm like, okay, we'll get more exploration going up there. I don't know if I really want that, but whatever. Like, making the decision of which tech you want is part of the decision, and I kind of left that out. The transhumanists are next. Now, they have a combat chit as well. The question I have with combat is whether or not, so their combat is different. Theirs is rate of base. I think Fleet combat means not picking off an RE. Oh, combat's in here. I know combat's in here. Okay. We got damage after combat. Okay. Combat, yeah. Second thing in the rules. Or third, fourth, I don't know. Yeah, so fleet combat is attacking CVs. Oh, wait a minute. Combat with REs. Not defined. So like fleet combat is defined, you attack another player's ships with your ships, choose one or more armed CVs to include. All defending CVs are included. The defender also chooses to include a base. I'm not sure that that counts as combat with REs or not. Again, nobody can perform any kind of combat until that, incrementing 1% happens. But, it is something to keep in mind is, hey, I could be hunted down. That would suck, and I'd take damage or something. I don't really want that to happen to my CV, so maybe I want to go somewhere else with it. Is to go explore something no one's at. Does that make sense? I don't know. Not really. Let's go here. For the final player, the True Path, their ships are REs, which still have a movement modifier of 3. And I don't know what the hell they're up to. Their directive, Sirius. They want to head for Sirius, which is down this way. So I am going to send one here. You can see their ships kind of suck. We'll go here because we're kind of worried that other people are going to denude this really fast. It's not likely to happen though. The points just aren't there. Okay. No exploration because nobody's reached anywhere yet. Events is one of these chits, right? I can't remember. Well, we got it. Yeah, events is one of these chits. Okay, and that leaves it to the last player, and I've just who did not do anything. Consortium, yeah. So that'll get us to 2120. I'll put a die here to remind me I'm at the start. And we're going to take us a little break again. Sorry about that. One of the things about this that I like the original better for is there's sort of this visual, and this just looks like a space game, right? With all these systems and everything. Whereas with all the planets and their different sizes and the visual appeal of the original Stellar Horizons, that really triggered a lot more sort of imagination for me. Whereas this, it would have back in 1980, but I've seen so many games that are just, hex with planet, hex with planet, hex with nothing, whatever type of games, that this is a lot less visually appealing. I think, I really think that I like the original in a lot of ways better. but it's still a lot of fun. The system's a lot of fun, and having another chance to play around with something that uses a similar system, very similar in fact, is just, you know, it's a joy that like I probably wouldn't have allowed myself. Back up here for another turn. Spent about 15 minutes away. First thing, let's check the Is There War. That is 16. Nowhere near. Seems low, but... And we get base production. Okay. Nobody has any bases, so I think there isn't any. Let's look for it. Possible blockades. Yeah. So this would only be if players had bases. Obviously, they haven't even started exploring yet, so they will not have that. We downgrade the marker. Realized I forgot tech last turn. Oh boy. Okay, let me jump back, do the tech production, because that's actually important. But when we actually get to this turn, all the REs are going to be one away. So we're about ready to actually start exploring and doing stuff. And the CVs that just went out are like 3 away. But let me cut through these and check what people did. You know, I felt like I did it when I bought the ships. And then I was like, oh, that's it. This is so far down and so much blue in here. I want to be conservative. So for the Praetorians, for example, they're just buying resilient crews and not trying to spend a whole lot of tech. That is a fleet card, so they get a replacement one. But sensor upgrade. This will cost them more. I can't build level 2 stuff. Level 2 is there, and then it's there. So I don't, you know, I don't want to pull the extra cards. But to get additional cards of the same type costs more. What was the other thing I was considering? Oh, do I want to... Yeah, it cost me 10 biology to do settlements. So I'm kind of want to delay, you know, play it out. Some people may move a little bit more quickly. There was something else I wanted to say, and I don't recall what it was. I don't know. Conservatism makes sense because I know now that it's going to be several turns before I get another influx of cash and tech. For a few, the Praetorians picked up the resilient crew. These guys grabbed, I don't know what they grabbed. Oh, they grabbed that the first time, so they picked up this creative, which gives them a bigger hand, and they should get that now. So I'll get another fleet and another genetic in my hand. That's going to give me more options, but those options get expensive, which is what we're going to get to in a moment. The Starfarers bought another level for improved component design, dropping our E malfunction down to 22. That's nice. There are other ways to get to that, though, which is where we're going to get to. The transhumanists bought the CV malfunction rate reduction. You would think they want to maybe start colonizing, but they don't have the ships. They only had 1 CV available, which they sent out, and now they can't send a colony out, so it doesn't really make sense for them to invest in interstellar settlement yet. This might be a good idea, but they've got like several turns before they have to buy that, so not yet. But now I'm on the Givers, who have this superior robotics. They'd like to buy this. It's kind of cheap, and it reduces RE malfunction, but they already own a card of that type and level, so this would cost 13 instead of 8. And that's starting to get into kind of the stupid level of money. This one, not at all interested in, but I will be in the long term, so I kind of want to hold on to it, which means I probably buy a tech here. Now, the cheapest thing I can buy is this, because 2 people are there already. That reduces the cost by 3 for each other player. It's 10. 10 minus 6 is 4, but there's a minimum of 5. So that would cost me $2 plus my tech. Alternatively, I could start constructing for CVs to be able to haul, people someplace. That might be cool. But I think I'm going to buy the cheap tech instead. But here's the thing. People who are the first into their area get an IP off of it, which is like 2 tech. So it's also worth victory points and stuff. So maybe you don't want to spend it. It might have other values for you, but it's like, yeah, you can just turn it in for some tech if you want. In some ways, it's kind of a 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other, because look, I'm able to buy this tech cheaper because other people reached it first. Sure, they got an IP, they get 2 extra tech, but I saved 5 tech buying it later. So since I'm short on tech, I feel like this is a good idea to advance into there. During my directive, the consortium has this production, earn 2 tech markers using research ships. The only things research ships give you a bonus on is research. They can research a system that has at least pick a world in the system, roll a die. If it's less than or equal to the world's research value plus half for your ship's exploration, earn a tech marker. I'm going to have to use something as a counter for that, because I think what Rader's discussion about like being able to keep these things for victory points was similar, is like, this is an accumulative thing. I have no easy way to mark that. I don't know what to do. I mean, look, I could put the tech marker there, but I might need to spend that tech marker, right? And so the Shining Path or whatever is going for interstellar settlements. They get an IP for that. These guys also get a second IP. Because they made it up to the improved component design. These guys get nothing. These guys, they're going for the capacity to start settling, because their settlements only cost them $3 billion each. That's so cheap that it seems almost worth, or it seems worth, sending one off. By the time they get here, there's probably going to be a planet that they can land on. The habitability is high here. It's 90%. I have 80%. Then I'm allowed to settle anywhere with 80 or higher. So sending a colony there makes sense to me. I'm also one of the pariahs in that if other people are there, I got a chance of starting to convert some of their settlements over. So this is going to be hard to avoid, but like the new religion is going to take a root there. The consortium bought this Crew Focus. This was expensive. It reduces the cost of CVs. I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to buy a CV and my kind of expensive settlements, but this was my plan. I didn't have a lot of cogs, engineering points to do. That gets me back into the right time here. And now I'm at build and repair ships, and we again do that in reverse order because otherwise people will play games, you know, with the simultaneousness. It's funny, the building ships isn't simultaneous. It is in reverse order. It's the tech that's simultaneous, which is really, really weird. Because like if you know somebody's going to attack, you might want to go to it too. And therefore you want to withhold your decision until you can see what everybody else has done. I really think that should be in reverse initiative order, or secret. You know, like there's no mechanism for secret allocations, but it wouldn't be bad if there were. Many things that's not stated directly, but I think comes out of it. I was looking at the trade goods here. So it says, if you sell goods where another player has a base but you don't, you must pay them $1 billion per good sold. Okay, whatever. But I think goods, maybe it says in cargo transfer, I don't know. To trade goods, simply move them from Earth or a base onto a ship in the same system up to the cargo capacity. There's a lot of discussion, but I think you own the goods. Like goods that you produce at your base, no one else can pick them up or anything. It feels like you should at least be able to like cut deals and sell goods to people. But there's none of that kind of deal making in this game. That seems like a pretty minor allowance to put in play. I don't remember if piracy gets, like, I haven't done combat, and I don't know if the combat scenarios would have allowed for this. Let's try to find the combat rules. They're early. They're here. Resolve combat. Result is the hits on the other side. It doesn't look like trade goods or anything like that captured in combat, either from hitting a ship or a base. I guess they just get destroyed if the entire base is destroyed. There's a lot that's not spelled out in these rules, and you kind of have to intuit it and then decide if you like what you intuit. So like, I think it would make the most sense if people could sell goods to one another, given that money can be transferred electronically or something at, you know, essentially well above the speed of light. I also think, though, that it probably would make sense that, like, if you attacked someone, you'd have a chance of getting salvage from them. But, nah. None of that appears to be in here. Of course, there's lots of room to tinker around and play with things as you like. Where the hell am I? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to decide on building ships, and I've worked my way through, and the givers do not wish to build any ships, I guess. I guess that's what I decided with them. But I think these guys will, because they made a plan that way. For $9, they built this thing. It cost $6. If you remember, their settlements cost $3. And yeah, they're gonna go start colonizing. There's nowhere to colonize yet, but they're counting on something here. I mean, you know, if you're religious, you have to have faith in something, right? And that puts me last but not least to the consortium, who their settlements are expensive. I'm kind of thinking, be conservative, hold the money, which is what everyone else is doing. No one's got any REs. They built them all and sent them all out. So until they malfunction, they're not going to get the capability to build more. And those CVs, well, I bought this, but you know, I kind of want to send a settlement out as well. So I'll hold off on buying a ship yet, even though my ships are cheaper now. We already reduced these for turn 3. This ship is going to set sail. It doesn't matter if it has a blue flame or not. It's got a speed of 5 because it's carrying cargo. If you're not carrying cargo and you have a blue flame, you're able to go faster with your CVs than you normally would. There's still no exploration, still nothing's reached its location, and it's once again time to play with techs. I'm gonna go check my raid game, see. I left it busy doing something in it. It's probably done now. Now I'm back around to the tech that I just spent a lot of time on. That's really eating up the most time in the game right now. Once exploration starts happening, that'll eat some too. Okay, let's take a look. Everybody bought something again. The Praetorians pushed themselves into the reduced malfunction rate at a cheap cost. They have a lot of science. They had to pick first, and they missed out on 5 of the players. Went for long distance probes. I don't remember who decided first. I guess we could find out. Yeah, it was the Syndicate who decided first with this idea of, well, they had a lot of physics available to them. And we're like, well, which one do we want? And just looking at these, having a faster movement to your REs isn't really helpful unless there's other places to go. So they kind of decided, okay, let's expand the range of our REs, get some IP for that. So 5 of the players are going to get an IP. I'll figure out, because some of them already have 2. And then the Givers bought a cheap Interstellar Settlements. Not quite sure why. Mainly because they had a fair amount of biochips. They had like 5 of them, and they don't have a lot of techs, and they don't have a hell of a lot of cash. So it seemed like an economical choice to keep my cards. I don't know if I really care about my cards, right? The RE malfunction would be useful. I really like this one, and I think that's kind of why I'm continuing to buy. But it's going to get to the point where it's hard to buy things. You know, I already have this cheap one. This will be cheap. That'll only be $5. You know, but I got no tech, so it kind of sucks. And I'll get those chips aligned, and then we're at the end of the turn. Because up here, I'm getting pretty tired. We're about ready to start seeing exploration actually happen, for whatever that's worth. But I think it's time for me to call it a night. Well, I played some of my games, but then fell asleep, or tried to fall asleep. Kind of dozed off during a podcast or whatever. But I only slept for or napped for like an hour or so. But obviously, I had the same questions before. The directive on this one, earn 2 tech markers using research ships, or something similar to that came up. And the designer did respond. He responded that most of these things there's some kind of marker that essentially covers it. So like if if there's something like complete two surveys or something along that line where you get to keep these counters, that's fine. But something like this doesn't have any, that you have some kind of marker that lets you accumulate. Something like this doesn't give you anything. So that it would have to be kind of at the same research phase that you do both of them. Now, that's going to require two different ships. I'm not sure how much I like that. If I'm able to accumulate other things, it kind of feels like I should be able to accumulate this. I haven't made up my mind yet whether or not, I'm going to use markers for that. But this is going to be a really hard one to achieve. Now, when I picked it, I probably had those same doubts in mind, and the other things were worse. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really rough thing to achieve all at once. And I don't know that I agree with that if you can remember. If it requires memory, or it shouldn't. It should be all at once philosophy. But at least he's watching and giving responses, which is helpful. Yeah, I'm going to go back to sleep. I had to eat something is really kind of what happened. But anyway, the desire for sleep is failing me. So let's start another turn. This is a 3% chance now. Not going to happen. I don't know what the accumulation is. Yeah, these probabilities, they don't straight add up, right? So it's not a 6% chance so far in the game. It's somewhere below that. But at some point or another, it's very clear that it's going to be very likely that hostilities will have started. That gets us to the economic phase. Since I've randomly stacked these, we get terraforming and add worlds. Nobody's going to be able to terraform at this point. Now, I thought terraforming was one of the things you did in the exploration. Yeah. Very odd. Each ship has one action per turn it can use to either explore, resolve an anomaly, or event, mine, research, or terraform. Now, we're not really worried about any of this. I think that it has to happen during the normal play of the turn, that it doesn't happen during the economic phase. But again, there's a lot of weirdness in this rule set, and a lot of, well, gee, it's supposed to happen that way, but it could have been put a lot more clearly, I guess, because people are just not getting it. As I said, it feels like these rules are more like a set of notes, fairly detailed, maybe good enough for early play testing, that we're ready and easily, easier to manipulate than a full rule set, right? That's clear and comprehensive and all that. So that, yeah, if you want to play test the system, look, you get a packet like this, and then from there, you might have questions for the designer of, what do you mean by this? What's expected there? Fine. But this is not sufficient for even like sending out to sort of your final blind testing group, much less ready for publication. And again, what should go to the final blind testing group is essentially the complete product. Obviously maybe not, not as good a component quality or whatever, but the expected complete product. And then if those rules pass muster, that's fine. But if they have major revisions, then you go through multiple rounds of blind testing. Ideally, nobody does that anymore. That used to be the kind of thing that I think delayed things like SPI's testing, et cetera. Although I think blind testing, I may be wrong as to how extensively it was done. If you look at like Avalon Hill's games, they put out a couple games a year. Right? I don't know, something, I don't remember what their numbers were, but they put out just a handful of games a year, and some of them were just, there's no way they got through anything. Okay. Anyway, so I'm guessing that there's no economic phase. We go to the reduction, and here we're going to come back in, at least for some. So this one is on the 1 turn. It arrives. These guys all arrive. But this one goes from 3 to 2. And we'll complete that with the rest of them. I just wanted to show you the arrival is just, there's no more marker on them. Quick look, all the REs that were sent out initially have arrived. The REs that the True Path sent out are all on turn 1. This thing's a True Path with colonists on board. It's going the slowest of everything. And then we've got the turn the CVs went out. Different people sent out CVs a little faster. That would be on probably last turn, to tell you the truth. And they're still on a 2-turn delay. Is that right? Couldn't have been last turn. Could it? First turn, they had a 2 move and they've gotten there. Second turn, yeah, these guys must have gone out second turn. Okay. Why are these so slow then? Because they should have gone out second turn as well. Well, yeah, they're just one slower than the CVs, because those are fast CVs, right? So they had a 5 down to 4. These had a 3 down to 2. Or no, these had a 3. Yeah. So that's all good, I think. I'm very tired. I'm so likely to make mistakes due to this. But now it's time to build and repair ships. We're still on the same initiative level track, because the initiative is one of these things. Little things I think about as I'm going to load my pipe. It came up in my thoughts while I was trying to sleep as well, is that it is a little funny. And I mean, look, you got to abstract things down and you simplify for a game, right? But that each system has only one type of technological chip that can be found in it. Why do I find that strange? Look, anywhere you go, you might learn some things from any type of tech, right? If there's any kind of life on any of these, then there would be biology possibilities. And maybe the most interesting biologies will be in things that are actually the least like our own Earth, right? The least likely to create M worlds or whatever. that's the kind of places you're expecting to, that you might find life forms that are truly different and might create real breakthroughs in that. And likewise, the formation of the different systems might give hints towards physics, etc., as well as simply the acts of exploring. You just might find new elements, and certainly in engineering, you might find new materials that you don't expect to find, and you might find them anywhere. So I kind of feel almost like you might want to add something, and this would again be a house rule option type thing. If you want a little more complexity, instead of the type of the particular system determining what type of tech you're going to get, that it maybe determines 9/10 of the time the tech you get, or 8/10 of the time, and the other times it would be split between the other two, just to give a little bit of a chance of finding other stuff. Is it worth it? Probably not worth the effort, but it's just the kind of thing that runs in my head when I'm thinking about these things, about, hey, is this really realistic? Is this what it should be? Those are the kind of tweaks that, unlike the command and control, the money, the capability of transferring tech across space at faster speeds, that really irks me. To me, that feels like this is the wrong game. This is Stellar Horizons 1 being played on a larger scale, with the time scale being about the same and whatnot, right? I don't remember. Those might have 5-year turns instead, but yeah, that's fine in that game. In this game, the only way you can explain what's going on is that there's a significant amount of faster than light communications available. All right, let me start figuring out if I want to build anything. There are no repairs. Nobody's damaged. It's unlikely anybody's going to build ships. Well, I'm not going to say that, because some people achieved their interstellar settlements, which gives them an opportunity to launch colonies. Although we did that earlier. So the only one that launched was the Givers, because the Shining Path, gotta make fun of names, I don't know, already sent its ship out. Now, the Givers did not improve their movement or whatever, and when we get down, there's no combat yet. Cargo transfer and trade, that's when we pick up the dude. When we hit movement, this is the only ship that wants to move. There's a lot of ships that could move, and in fact, there's a fair number of people who got to an RE range of 2, but we were just buying a tech to avoid having to dump cards. So, weren't going to do that. So now, where does this one want to go? Well, rare materials. Here's one of the problems. I don't know where rares are produced. And I don't believe that there's any little chart in the game. I would like to know a type of planet that rare materials... Oh, do I have any? No, because they're not going to be produced on Earth. So I kind of want to be able to see there we go, A and D. And now we'll look this up here. D is asteroid belt, A is not arid, it's volcanic. Where are those likely to show up? Could be anywhere, really. So, the most likely place is here. Do I want to go there, though? There's a military ship heading there. I think I'm going to head out this way. My speed is still 5, I believe. If I can find that. So I'm going to launch in the other direction and try to avoid some of the pariahs. And that'll put me to exploration. I got to get those back in the bag, and then we'll do a little bit of exploration on camera. I did a fair amount in the first scenario, but I want to make sure that I get every mechanism captured in this, at least somewhat. Now, exploration is done simultaneous, but by initiative order for surveys. All right. Exploration allows you multiple things. You can explore, resolve an anomaly or event, mine, research, or terraform. Yeah. So it's actually scoring the surveys. A single exploration seems like one ship thing for ordering and whatnot. Okay, so mining and research, those are going to require there be planets to be pleasant. Present. There are no planets present now, so nobody can do that. Terraforming likewise, anomalies and events, they have to have shown up. So none of that stuff's available, so everybody's going to be doing exploration. And this can be done simultaneously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this world. I'm going to go on a world-by-world basis or a system-by-system basis. So the way you do this is you add the science value or exploration value for the ship, 1, the number on the exploration chip, that brings me to 6, any bonus, that brings me to 7. I don't have any bonuses showing, I don't have any tech that gives me a bonus. That means on a 7 or less, on 1 die, I will get an engineering chip. If that engineering chip is a 5, I discover something. And that will lower the value of this chip down to a 4. I'll find a planet. But you can see it's really unlikely to find anything with these little robotics in a large number of players. And it may be pretty hard with some of these other ships. Because what you need to do is you need to get your total value above a 10 so that you guarantee getting a chit and you roll a die for a second chit. When you get 2 chits, there's a fair chance that you're going to get 5 survey completion. At the same time, I roll percentile dice for a malfunction. With the robotics, the malfunctions are either 26 or 30%. Depending on whether or not you have that tech at this point. If I do end up completing the survey and shifting this, I get an IP. Okay. No, that's the last survey. Okay. Anomalies and events will be, if I do find, and if I complete the survey, get the 5, then I have a 20% chance of finding an anomaly, and that gets me an IP. Events are different. They come from the event chits. All right, so this first one, what did we say it was? 6, 7. So I succeed. I get an 08. That's going to be a malfunction. We'll get to that in a moment. 08 gives me one of these. I get a 1. That's not going to complete the survey. This player gets that. This is destroyed. However, when a ship's destroyed, you get a tech for it. In this case, you get an engineering tech for an RE that's destroyed. This doesn't count towards my survey. But I have some more tech to spend because I did that. And now we're going to do, for the rest of the for the rest of all these REs that are out there. So I'm going to be busy for a while. You could just leave the tech on top of ships. I think it's actually easier if I just work in the initiative order through each system individually. And that way I can resolve any surveys as they come up. But it's important that these are done simultaneous, because what it means is if I find an anomaly, someone later can't go investigate it. Now, that's not going to work because everyone is actually operating with this higher value. So I do have to roll each one individually. Yeah. I was thinking, oh, well, yeah, because this generates once somebody completes a survey, this number drops. And that shouldn't impact anyone else's die rolls. Working on this planet, I started with this guy, went to this guy. He didn't find anything. He didn't find anything. He got a malfunction. I'm going to take care of that immediately, just to get it out of my way. I was leaving it there. Yeah, big payoff. It's just an RE. But this guy has an extra bonus. So he'd be going 5, 6, 7, 8 for his. And I'll roll him. He succeeds. 34 is not a problem. So he gets this. That won't help him. And I could just move that off since it won't help. All right, the next player that I was going to do, just over here, is the Starfarers. They got a success. Hey! I'll leave that one there because that one's going to work. But they also rolled a 23, which is a bad malfunction number. It initially starts at 30, but his is down to 22 now. So he's actually not damaged, and he's going to have a success. Iridium doesn't get as lucky. They get a success. It's only a 3. I'm going to just boot that over because it doesn't matter. They rolled a 20, which would be below this, but they actually they have a 26%. So look, they get more tech. What a bonus. I mean, $3 or 3 engineering, $3. It's not that bad, but you can see it's really hard. Now this is the last guy that I had to do, the Praetorians. Technically, I have to do a quick check. This is one thing. You're constantly checking your cards. Okay, that's not a problem if you're not playing solo. But you're also constantly looking over at the tech chart to see, where you stand on the tech at any given time. That's a painful little process. This is the last ship in this system. It's an 8-9. Might as well do it on here. He gets a success. 33 is fine. So I get a success. Hey, we got 2 people with successes. Now, I'm going to resolve this system completely before I go on. So we each completed a survey. Now, this is important. The person who completes the last survey gets the IP and points at the end of the game and gets to choose the demand markers and everything. And this part is done in initiative order, but it's not necessarily best to be the first. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, it's also not necessarily best to be the last to resolve. It all depends. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Initiative order, we have pinkos and blues. Blues come before pinkos. So, this drops down to a 4. This is a bioplanet. Oh, I'm fucking up. Son of a bitch. Let me keep the same numbers. It's hard for me to read the systems. Now, what's really bad, okay, and it's cool that they replaced these. These were counters from the original, and they've got the wrong symbols on them. And they gave a replacement sheet of those. But I still managed to fuck it up, thinking this was engineering rather than bio. I don't know why. I got to figure out who got points from bio, from engineering that should be bio. This one should definitely be replaced. I'll get a 1 for him. This guy lost a ship. I don't think he got a draw. I don't think he got a success. But I'm not sure about others. Red may have gotten a success. I could go back and look. Well, worst comes to worst, I accidentally gave people the wrong marker. But here, and I think the mixtures are about the same, I should replace these with biomarkers. Yeah, there might be a slight, I may have made a slight error. One of those may have gotten a success that I'm not accounting for, but they got a tech marker out of it, which, you know, is about as good as you can hope. Who was I doing first? I'm doing blue first, but I got to clean this up because I can't cope with things in sort of like a state of disarray. This is really weird. Like, the rest of my house, everything is in a fucking state of disarray, right? I just leave things out where, you know. But with games, somehow it just doesn't work for me the same way. My mind works differently. So let's accomplish the things we wanted to do. Blue went first. They will get this biomarker. They get a planet. This is a single draw. Doesn't matter which one you put it in. It's an H. Anything's allowed to be here. Don't know. It's put on the number 1 side, the face up side in all cases. The replacement counters face the different way from the originals, so there is something a little weird there. But I also have a 20% chance, and I'm just going to roll a single red die because I don't have anything that gives me a higher percentage, right? Oh, I got to read this too. I have a 30% chance of finding an anomaly. So 1 through 3. I find an anomaly. No one can do anything about it this turn. It's an anarchist outpost. It's a military anomaly. It'll take, I have to have a military strength of 7 to beat it. Now that doesn't have to be one person. People can join together to beat it. It's worth 5 IP. The people who join together agree how they split it up. and it has no persistent effect. But an important thing is no events and no bases can show up there anymore. No events can show up there, no bases can be built there. And an anomaly gives me an IP for the blue player. All right, I need to swap batteries. I'll be back. I do basically the same thing for the Pinkos. So the same thing in this case is this gets reduced to a 3. They get the tech. They get a planet. Since there's open slots, it just goes there. It's that one. This is research capability and money. And we look at the Pinkos, and bases can't be rated. I have a +1 to combat rolls, but not a +1 to combat strength, which is important. But my ships are better at combat. So I need a 1 or a 2 for an anomaly. Oh, but he does reduce the difficulty of anomalies and events by 1. We also find an anomaly. Is there a limit? I don't think so. Okay. That will get him an IP. He has none yet. I mean, I could just go grab a 1 no matter what, but okay. And what did we find? We found predatory plants, which prevent bases. They're just a 1 military, very easy to deal with. This guy can cope with it all on his own. And if you succeed in this, it'll get you an IP and a Flora trade good marker. Now, the problem with the trade good is I don't have anywhere I can put it. And that's going to probably be often the case because you don't generally, I mean, okay, it depends. But a lot of the exploration ships don't have cargo space. So I think I just don't get it. I don't remember. I remember there was some kind of question about this online. Oh, the other thing is once this is resolved, bases produce +1 biology marker and a flora production. The flora production, I don't know when the flora production happens, if that's going to happen during base production or if it's just like an automatic additional draw during trade goods. I'm guessing base production will happen. But this becomes a more interesting place because of that, right? It's going to produce additional stuff. Yeah. What it may be is that these worlds are capable of producing flora, is all that it's saying. Again, things are not very well spelled out, and I don't expect to find an answer. So that's the end of what happens here. We actually got 2 full successes. That's pretty impressive. I was a little worried that the exploration side of things was going to be slow. I'm going to go through the rest of them. I might come back and take a look at if anything interesting happens on any planets. This is probably about as interesting as things get, but there's a lot of exploration going on in this planet. This could have been interesting here because we had 3 successful exploration attempts, not surveys. The first 2 were successful surveys, though. The third one didn't get a successful survey, and it got an elimination. Had all three happened, 2 planets would be drawn, and then there would be a possibility of a replacement planet. As it stands, he loses another one of his things, and he gets a chit for that. He still gets the information transmitted back. Now, I'm fine with that information being transmitted back. It's the instantaneous nature of all the transmissions that bothers me. And now we do checks for the planets and the anomalies. These are done. The consortium for anomalies this time, and this is what we have there. We got JJ's, your old-time Buffalo person. It was a sad news to me a few years back. JJ's Breakfast joint ended up closing down. Some memories of that place. Our third one, Lumen here. We had some successful searches. This one is truly successful, but the ship was destroyed. Getting an engineering chit, of course. And he gets his... Oh, shit. Gave it to the wrong player. It's these. Yeah, it's painful keeping track of this many. But he also gets an anomaly check, and he's the guy who's good at finding anomalies. And he succeeds again. It gets an IP. And it finds primal carnivores, 3 military, no bases allowed. Solving, it's worth 2 IP and a fauna. And it'll produce biology marker production. Additional. I did not draw a planet, though, which I should have drawn first. No big deal. And it doesn't matter where you put the planet. I mean, you got to put it in a circle. That's an IP. I think there are 5s. There's too many different types of denominations. The money, I've already gone over. You know, it takes 5 ones to make a 5, and then 2 of each of these. That doesn't make sense. But similarly with these, do you really need one? Well, this may actually allow you to use a lesser counter mix than you would use if you went 1-5. So, okay. And that's going to put me over here. What's going on here so far? This guy got his bio, lost a third one of these. Boy, his ships suck. One of them survived. Ooh, that's nice. No bonuses from it, though. This ship is over here. Like I said, it's getting too crowded. We got 2 who succeeded. He gets 1. This. He didn't get lucky this time. But we got another one here that got lucky. So this is going to go down a couple. There'll be a couple planets, anomaly checks. I'll be back. What I missed, this guy lost his RE as well. He's last, though. Technically, this guy should go first. Let's see if I don't fuck things up. He's green. Makes his... Doesn't get a check. This guy got an anomaly check as well. I hope I drew his gray one. He didn't get one either. We got planets to pull too. And yeah, this is getting Okay, there's a no world here. That could get replaced. This should be down to 3. And there's this. And you can see, I mean, the board is just getting really, really crowded at this early stage when there's nothing there. You know, it's getting really hard to have all the ships that are present. Of course, if you're not playing in 7 players, that might not be a big deal. But yeah, you only had a couple of moons and stuff that got this crowded in the original. There's no one going into this. These guys are traveling still. So that should be the end of exploration. Which means we're on the developed tech side of things. I gotta swap batteries. And again, this I'm gonna do in that reverse initiative order so that people don't get an unreasonable view, so that there's some kind of system for who gets an advantage to seeing what other people do. Now we're out of what I would consider kind of the sparse period where we're really, really dependent on the order of these things because we're going to be getting tech. If you have ships, you're going to get tech from your explorers that are out there, unless you set them moving again. So you can make a pretty good argument for spending most, if not all, of your tech pieces on a turn. You don't want to spend them all because you might get bad draws, whatever. And you want to, of course, consider money, which is useful for other things, such as building ships and settlements, for that consideration. But yeah, I feel like I've got a lot more. I don't have to limit myself to just one pick, but I probably don't want to do all 3 at this point. I just don't have that much excess capability. Praetorians, and again, having extra cash, I can always feed that in. I'm going to take a cheapie over here for interstellar settlement. Because 2 people have taken it already. And I'm also going to be first in on fusion rockets so that my CV that I'm going to build next turn with a settlement and all that is going to be able to move a little bit faster. It's going to drop down to a 4 times speed multiplier instead of a 5. Here's another one. Sell 2 trade goods on Earth. Where's the... someone has... Sell 2 trade goods at Epsilon Arendani. That's going to be hard to do all at once. That's the problem. And I just feel like doing it over multiple turns would make a lot of sense. But it is something that I have no mechanism for recording on this counter how many I've got. Now, again, I could use a number counter, I could use some of these, whatever. I could use some kind of marker to indicate that I've sold one, just put it on my directive or whatever. But yeah, by the designer's own side of things, you can't. You have nothing within the game to remember those things, so you'd have to accumulate and deliver 2 at once. Now, that's fairly easy at Earth, where they'll accept 3 different types of goods. You might have bonuses that allow you to sell anything there. You just need the shipping capability and to get it all to show up at the same time. Getting that to happen at Epsilon Arendani is going to be difficult. Getting 2 tech markers using research ships means getting lucky to achieve those. And it feels kind of funny that you can't accumulate them, right? It just really does. And I'm debating whether or not I want to try to keep track. But anyway, that all just came because I'm trying to figure out what to do with one of the powers in terms of what capabilities they want to buy. Something up. while most of the people over on this table have got a good number of tech markers, this guy started a turn late, so he does not, and this guy doesn't either. He just got kind of unlucky and didn't produce any. So yeah, he's a little behind the curve, so he only bought one tech. He's going in for the interstellar settlements, going to build himself a base, whatever. It carries over that feels a little gamey from the original Stellar Horizons is when I expend tech, I have choices, and those choices affect the composition of the pool. Much like in a CDG, the cards that you discard, that you choose to play or whatever, and throw into the discard pile, affect, you know, what is going to be drawn in terms of points, whatever. And also sometimes you can cull cards from the deck or whatever by using them in certain ways. But anyway, here, so for example, if I wanted to buy the Interstellar Settlement for 5, I have two choices. I mean, obviously I can play with money too. But I could spend a 5 chit, or I could spend a 3 and a 2. Which would I prefer? Okay? Now in my case, I have some pretty decent explorers, so I'm more likely to get stuff. So I think I actually would rather put the big chit in there than the little ones. But other players might choose differently. You might be in a situation where you don't want more stuff discovered because you have kind of a lock on on the only bases that are really viable or something like that. Something could come up where you want that kind of control, and you can kind of fiddle with the numbers a little bit. These pools are pretty big, so I don't know how much of an effect it is, but I do feel like it's something that you keep in mind when you're choosing what to spend. Quick example, this guy could buy settlements. Now maybe he doesn't want them, but if he did, he'd probably spend little ones because he's not doing much exploration next turn. He's lost almost all his robotics. He has one out here, but unfortunately for him, he has a hard choice because if he takes the buy settlements, first of all, it's as cheap as it's going to get. But he could buy that next turn, and it's not going to make much difference because he doesn't have a ship available to him. His only ship is back here, which means unless he spends 10 for building the interstellar transports, which he has, right? 7, 8, 9, he could throw a buck in. Then he could access his CV3s. How much cash does he have? A decent amount of cash. Transhumans, I don't know how they feel about building bases and whatnot. Like how much they're wedded to the idea of building bases. Oh, what were the limits to bases? I can't remember. I can't remember if they're like, oh yeah, you can drop off whatever you like. It's the expansion that's an issue. But each player is only allowed a certain number of planet systems that they actually inhabit. And at this point in the game, for many of these, that number is 1. This guy's allowed 2. And he's the only one, the Starfarers is the only one who's allowed to have 2 different systems at this point. The guy's sitting on a directive to sell trade goods at Epsilon Eridani, which, that's cool, because it gives him a goal to head out that way. But no one else basically could reach Epsilon Eridani without greatly extending their CV range. Now, CV range is only 1 right now, but it can go up to 2 kind of at mid-tech chart. So I could get there at some point. But that's kind of a bone. Do I want to sell that off? I don't know. Probably I should be considering once per turn you can spend an IP to redraw. Because this is really shitty, but I've been allowing it to direct me, but it's like, yeah, but I can't get there anytime soon. It doesn't count towards my directive goal, which are worth 15 per that I failed to get by the end of the game. Especially given that anomalies and surveys are the ones I want for directives. And we're kind of burning through that period of the game. I might be considering throwing my directive, even though I had it out here. It's on my mind. I'm gonna spend the IP before. I'm only allowed to do it once per turn, but not at any specific time in the turn, apparently. I'm gonna spend to discard this one. I don't want it. It's just, it looks too hard, and I really do want to get my anomalies or surveys out of the way. The only other person who's close to that is the Praetorians are interested in anomalies. So I draw 2, and I pick 1. Complete a survey of Vega, or earn 7 billion cash from base production. To get 7 billion in cash from base production, well, I have to look at the rules. This is a +7. I believe the planet throws in some value. It's the highest world production plus that. So if I settle here, which is where I'm heading, we have world productions of 3, which means I'd have to get up to +4, which is like 20 settlements. That's pretty big. Where's Vega? Vega's out there. That's pretty far away too. I think I'll take the survey one because that counts towards my victory. Whereas the like this will give me 2 victory points. But if I don't get 4 surveys or anomaly, and it's not anomaly chips solved, it's anomaly directives. If I don't get 4 of those chits by the end of the game, I'm going to pay a large victory point penalty, much larger than what I can gain off anything, which is why I chose to spend. But now I go back to, what am I buying? Oh, I already decided for him. All right, different decision for the transhumanists. I spent a big 10, one of which was money, to build CV3 vehicles and the interstellar settlements so that I can try to keep up with everyone else. But all I get is 1, no, wrong player. I get a couple of ships. One of which has cargo capacity, which is what I really want. I must have sent somebody out. I know I looked. Yeah, I sent somebody out who had the cargo capacity. But now I'm getting both the capability to colonize. Now, this is the only place I can colonize, and there's a lot of bad people there. So I don't know how I feel about that. Like in EU Pop, biology techs cost 3 less. Take the buck and I'm pretty sure I threw a 2 in here. I think it's not clear again what the effect of the cards is. So if you look So I took the $3 back. That meant I spent two biology for that tech. Oh no, this wouldn't be the buck. Yeah. So let me get a 1 back as well. Because I think I threw 2 2s and a 1 in. If we look over here, let's take a look. The cost of a tech is indicated in brackets. The cost is modified by -3 by every other player who owned it at the start. Minimum cost 5 after all modifiers. Yeah, I think I got to spend the full 5 on this. I was going to say I wasn't sure how that worked out, but reading the wording, all modifiers, that includes my card over there. It'll be good in the long run, but yeah, it kind of sucks that my tech is not as cheap. You know, that me buying this card isn't really saving me in this particular case. That's him. That's going to give him the capability now to build CVs, which I feel I need to do to catch up or to stay in line with people. Still relatively tight for the givers here. They have their cheapest, their biggest pile of stuff is in bio. They could spend 5 bio, but then they'd have to spend $5 for something. And I don't have a lot of cash either. So I'm a little worried that I'm going to get tight here. I think I'm going to spend 4 of those and 1 of those and pick up this cheap RE range that I don't particularly want, but I don't want to lose my card either. And what are these, carrots? I don't know what they are. Some little flower thing or something. Any cards? The second card is always expensive. Additional cards of the same type are expensive, so it's kind of hard to do. But what do we have here? So the transhumanists, the Praetorians, and these guys each get an influence marker. These others do not. And so he went with this because he's basically out of tech. I was like, well, that's the cheapest thing, and maybe I'll get lucky. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get our exploration starting at least, and we may get some tech, but we feel like we're going to have to ditch our cards. The givers joined in here with the RE. That's got 6, but this one's got 7. And what that means is that we put this all factions marker here, and everybody owns this. I don't know if it's better that way or that way. And that way I can, you know, not be as cluttered, but nobody needs to buy that. Peeking over at the titles to see, hey, is anybody eligible for any of these? I mean, this one, other than that it takes a lot of influence, but he's already a 5. He's a third of the way there. He's the best off. This one here, roll a 1 while researching. Wow. That's going to be hard to remember to check or whatever, whether or not you can buy it. Some of these others are things, well, this one, be attacked by a player who has more escalation and have the money, and I guess you do it at the time. Resolve science anomaly or event with 10+ difficulty, fine. But this one, this is the one that brought the conversation up, I think. Own 3 exploration markers from last completed survey. I was not reading a last completed survey as intended, and that's where the confusion lies for me. I thought it meant you just did a survey and you got three exploration markers, being tech markers is what I meant. What he means is when you last completed survey means the last survey that the one that finishes a system off. Oh, I got to change battery. It wasn't an issue of, well, how do you remember whether you've gotten those 3 at the last completed survey? Rather, which is the kind of issue that exists with, say, the directives or whatever. Rather, it was not realizing that when you complete a survey, reduce the systems. No. When you complete the last survey of a system, earn an IP and keep the system's exploration marker. So I didn't realize that last completed survey was an official term of the game, and was reading it as you had to get 3, I don't know what exploration markers, that's not what they are. They're tech markers, but what I was thinking was to get 3 of them is what you needed, and that's almost impossible. Instead, what this is as surveys start getting completed and the systems start getting completely mapped, so that you can't do surveys anymore, you reach the last completed survey is the one that removes the marker. You get to keep the marker for victory points. Once you have 3 of them, you can buy that. Okay. Now I get where the conversation went from, or why the conversation was happening. I forget a lot of the stuff that I say, but yeah, that's... It makes sense. I don't think that's clear, and it's one of the problems with putting information... Oh, this one is still running. Information on small spaces. The counter couldn't contain much more information on it. This fucking thing. Yeah, I mean, there's just not enough space on a tiny counter. I have enough trouble with CDGs doing stuff like this. This is as tiny as you can get writing to go. Own 3 exploration markers from last completed survey. If it had said from completing final survey in a system, it would be absolutely unambiguous. But as it stands, it was like, yeah, I was just reading it as something completely different. Okay. Nobody's discarded anything. Move this up here. We've done 4, including the 0, so that's right. I'm going to load this up. It's big. It's, we're in for a long ride. I know most of you will drop off at some point or another. We're going to go into less and less detail and try to get more into narrative, but it's kind of hard because there's, I don't know, the narrative's kind of buried in the procedural details of the game. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do.